Hey, how you doing?
Hey, great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Really appreciate you joining us here on the Alan and Aaron Sports Talk Radio Show. For those who don't know, this is Mark Lichtenfeld, and definitely the ring announcer and strategic analysis. So definitely glad to hear from you today. You're also the author of Get Rich with Dividends. So we'll start with the boxing first. How
Sure.
did you get started with being a ring announcer?
So I was always a boxing fan since the time I was a kid, and um, was doing some freelance writing for the websites and some of the boxing magazines. This is going back to late '90s, early 2000s. Moved to Florida, which was a hotbed of boxing, especially back then in the early 2000s. I mean, seemed like every champ and contender was living and training down here especially in South Florida. Um, got to be friendly with a bunch of people, and there was a local promoter who I had done some TV work for, and just one day said to him, "Hey, if you ever need a ring announcer, let me know," because it was something I'd always wanted to do. And one day out of the blue, he called me and said, "I've got a fight on ESPN," which was kind of a shock because he was kind of a small local promoter. But he said, "I've got a fight on ESPN. Do you want it?" And I said, "Of course." And that was my first time in the ring on ESPN.
Wow, just like that, the opportunity came knocking at your door. When that opportunity came, did you like, wow, wasn't what I expected it?
Um, that's a good question. I think it was what I expected. I was very nervous, and not because I was afraid I would screw up on TV. I was nervous because I felt like this is a very small window of opportunity for me. And boxing's a kind of a small community, and it's not easy to get into it. And so I saw this door opening, and I needed to do a good job to get in. And so I thought I did a real good job, and I figured, oh, now my phone's going to ring, and it didn't for about a year. So I hustled like crazy, got another opportunity, and for Don King, and was in the right place at the right time that night because I met Gary Shaw, who was just launching Elite XC, which was his MMA organization that was, going to compete with UFC, and it was on Showtime. And I asked Gary if he needed a ring announcer. He was launching the next week, and he said, "Yeah, send me a tape." So I sent him a tape on Monday. He called me on Tuesday and said, "Can you be on a plane on Thursday?" And after that, he put me on Showtime and ESPN um, almost every month from there on in for about 3 or 4 years at least, maybe more.
Wow. So somebody who wants to be a ring announcer, just keep plugging away and you never know when the phone's gonna ring, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like any profession, you have to hustle. You have to be good. I've seen a lot of ring announcers, and the ones who aren't good generally do not. You don't see them again. There's
Okay.
a ring announcing is not rocket science, right? It's not the hardest thing in the world, but there is a real craft to it, and very clearly if it's being done wrong. You can hear
Okay.
it immediately, and when that happens, I mean, that person is never asked back because it just it's like hearing a band, and their instruments are out of tune. It just sounds wrong. It feels wrong. It takes the drama away. So you do have to know what you're doing and work hard, just kind of like any other profession.
Yeah. And one of the things about being a ring announcer is also getting the names correct. Is that sometimes a little bit of pressure on you?
Yeah, especially when I have a particularly hard time with like the Eastern European names. So, one, you want to get it right. I mean, especially if it's on TV, you have to get it right, no doubt about it. But, I want to honor these guys. I mean, they're getting in the ring, they're putting their life on the line. And so the least I can do is get their name right, get their hometown right. And so I'll ask the guy, I'll repeat it several times to make sure I've got it right. I'll go back out and practice. If I don't have it right, I'll go back in and I'll try not to bug the fighter. Maybe I'll go to one of his trainers or one of his people, but I will make sure I get that name right because I don't want to get a guy's name wrong who's standing in the ring, whether it's a world title fight or his pro debut or anything in between. He deserves to have his name pronounced right.
Oh, that's a great point. So a lot of people who don't know that you'll actually go to the boxer or go to their camp and say, hey, can you just make sure you go through this again with me to make sure I have this right?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah,
Yeah.
I try to talk to every fighter before the fight. Sometimes the main event fighter, it's not always possible, but I'll usually be able to hook up with at least somebody in his camp just to make sure I have all the details right. If he has a nickname that he wants to use, if he wants to be introduced from somewhere else. I mean, a lot of fighters come from different countries. Some want that country named, others just say, just the local US town is fine. So I want to, again, I want to honor them, give them the respect that they deserve, and make sure I get everything right.
Oh, that's awesome. And now, how long have you been doing this for, Mark, being a ring announcer?
So that first ESPN job was in 2005.
Oh,
So I've been doing
wow.
it 17 years.
Is it still fun for you at this time?
Love it. There's
Okay.
literally no place I would rather be than in the center of the ring. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm very blessed. I have a job that I love. I've got a great family. Actually, I sing in a band. But there's nowhere that I would rather be than the middle of the ring.
Oh, that's amazing. So with being a ring announcer, are there any destinations that you would say are off limits that you'll travel anywhere for a gig? Is that fair to say?
Pretty much. I mean, I might not go to Russia right now,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would go anywhere. I've traveled. I mean, I've seen that. That's one of the best parts about being a ring announcer is getting to go to places I'd never get the opportunity to go. And I'm not even talking about kind of exotic places. I'm talking about, I did a fight on Showtime in Grand Island, Nebraska.
Wow.
Chances are my life travels would not have taken me there. I just did a show for Don King last month in Warren, Ohio. So kind of these, these little places you probably wouldn't end up, but you get to see America, and it's fantastic. It's really my favorite thing, or one of my favorite things about this business is getting to travel and go to these places.
And I have actually a friend who's a good friend of mine he wants to be a ring announcer. He's just looking for an opportunity. What advice can you give to someone who aspires to be a ring announcer?
Don't do it. There's not too many jobs, and there's too many of us vying for those jobs. So no,
Okay.
it's it's so hard because I've talked to a lot of ring announcers. I mean, I've talked to Buffer and Lennon and Lupe Contreras and almost every big ring announcer out there, and everybody has kind of their own story. It's not like there's a simple track you can take, or even any kind of commonality that any of us have had, as far as I know. It's kind of all been, to some degree, being in the right place at the right time, having those skills ready to go. It's not something I think you can kind of start off on the ground floor as far as your skill level and then develop. Like I said, if it sounds wrong, you're just not going to get rehired. So not that you can't grow and improve as a ring announcer. I mean, I certainly have. And I even see Michael Buffer, after all these years, still honing his craft and still making little changes here and there, and doing things a little bit differently. And it's one of the things I respect so much about him, is that he's still doing that kind of thing. So you have to be good enough if you do get that shot. And then after that, it's really just work hard at making contacts, and and don't try to be Michael Buffer. There's only one
Okay.
Michael Buffer. So coming up with your own catchphrase, everybody asks me, do you have a catchphrase? And I say no, because nothing's going to beat "Let's get ready to rumble." So I'm
Yeah.
not even going to try. So yeah, just be yourself. If you have your own kind of style, then stick with that. Don't try to be anybody else.
Oh, wow. That's some great advice. And what are some of the great matches that you have witnessed as a ring announcer?
So boy, um, actually, one of the ones I just did was the fight for Don King, the Trevor Bryan, Jonathan Guidry WBA heavyweight title fight. And it didn't get a lot of huge press. I mean, it was a WBA heavyweight title fight, but Jonathan Guidry was this unknown guy, and it was rocky. I mean,
Okay.
nobody ever heard of this guy, Jonathan Guidry. He got chosen because Manuel Char wasn't able to take the fight. So he was, this basically a club fighter. I mean, he was undefeated, but he was, had never done anything big. And he gave Trevor Bryan all he could handle. And it was a 12-round split decision for a major heavyweight title. I mean, it doesn't get more dramatic than that.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. I did Chad Dawson versus Glenn Johnson 2, which was Dawson's first title defense in his hometown. So the place was just electric. That was a blast. And then probably my favorite fight was Corey Spinks versus DeAndre Lattimore for, I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was undisputed, but they both had a piece of the junior middleweight world title. It was in St. Louis. They're both from St. Louis, packed house, probably about 10,000 people in the arena. And Spinks got dropped in the first round and fought. He ended up going toe to toe with Lattimore. And if you remember, Corey Spinks was very much a slick boxer. He was not a puncher at all. He was a guy who was really, hit and don't get hit. But he stood toe to toe with Lattimore for 11 rounds and squeaked out a split decision. Again, world title fight in their hometown. And I'm also friendly with Corey Spinks. So for me, it was especially exciting that he won. I mean, it would have been exciting no matter who won, but it was especially exciting for me that he won the fight.
That's awesome. Yeah, you got a chance to see a friend win a fight. And one thing too is, what have you learned doing this from the boxers itself that maybe you didn't realize before, that maybe you learned afterwards or during being a ring announcer?
When you're sitting ringside, you really understand how hard these punches are. It's very different, even sounds different when you're ringside than when you're watching on TV. And especially the body shots. I mean, they ringside, they sound so painful. And I remember going up to a fighter after a fight, another guy I was friendly with, and just, giving a fist bump, and just feeling how hard that packed fist, it's all taped up. And then after the sweat, kind of makes the tape hard, and the stuffing in the glove gets wet and kind of condenses a little bit, and just feeling how hard that fist was, and imagining getting hit in the ribs with something like that. I mean, because I've sparred before, but they're with the big gloves, they're with hand wraps, they're not with tape. And so, a professional fighter in top physical condition with that packed fist and that tape, my gosh, it's amazing that these guys can do this for 12 rounds.
Wow. So it's definitely something that a lot of people don't think about, that it's a lot harder than when it might even appear on TV.
Oh, I think so. Definitely. And also just, getting to know some of the fighters, seeing them in the gym, and just seeing how hard these guys work. And, and it's not just the world champions. I mean, any pro boxer who's taking his craft seriously, even if they're, 500 fighter, have a losing record, but they're in their training. I mean, these guys work unbelievably hard. And I think it doesn't compare to any other sport, what kind of shape you have to be in to go 10, 12 hard rounds.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's not easy. You don't play boxing, that's for sure.
Exactly.
And you're also an author of Get Rich with Dividends. Talk about you being a chief strategist.
Sure. So my 9 to 5 job, I'm the chief income strategist for the Oxford Club, and I write a newsletter called the Oxford Income Letter. We have a free website called wealthyretirement.com. But yeah, I wrote a book in 2012 called Get Rich with Dividends, and we had a second edition come out in 2018. And basically, the idea is you want to invest in dividend growth stocks. These are companies that raise their dividends every year. So for those who aren't too familiar, a dividend is a payment that a company pays its shareholders. So sometimes you buy a stock and you simply hope that it goes up and you make money that way. Other times you buy a stock, hope that it goes up so you make money, but while you're holding it, it pays you a dividend. And that could be, anything from, 0.5% a year to 10, 15% a year. What I recommend to my readers is that you buy these stocks that are paying a dividend and raising it every year, so that, especially when there's times of inflation like we're in now, you're increasing your buying power, or at least sustaining it, because we're all paying more at the pump, we're paying more for groceries. So you want to make sure that whatever money you have coming in year after year can keep up with that. And so by having those increased dividends every year, then you're maintaining and hopefully increasing your buying power every year.
This is some great advice for a boxer too, people who are investing. And
Yeah,
Kevin,
I wanted to get involved with helping boxers with their money years ago, but there was a lot of reasons I ended up not doing it. But boxers need a lot of help. I mean, you always hear some success stories of guys like Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, who've held on to their money, Lennox Lewis, but a lot of these guys don't, and there's no union like in other sports. So I would love to be able to help boxers, hold on to their hard-earned money, because nobody works harder for their money than boxers.
yeah, they got to hold on to their money. And you brought up a great point. Kevin O'Leary even said that he usually buys stocks that only pay dividends.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, you might as well get paid while you're waiting for the stock to go higher. And, also these dividend stocks have a very long track record. We're talking going back 100 years of outperforming the market, doing better when the market goes down. They don't lose as much. So they're safer than, regular stocks. So it makes all the sense in the world to be investing in these kinds of stocks.
And if somebody really wants to learn more, they should read your book, Get Rich with Dividends.
Yeah, they can check out Get Rich with Dividends. It's available on Amazon and all the bookstores, or visit my free website, wealthyretirement.com.
Awesome. And another thing about boxing too, do you do anything outside of boxing? Like if somebody wanted to contact you with UFC or anything like that?
Well, I do MMA.
Okay.
So I was doing Elite XC, and there was a local promotion here in Florida called Fight Time. That was run by Howard Davis Jr., the 1976 Olympic gold medalist in boxing. So I worked for his promotion for a number of years. I'm available for any kind of combat sport. Absolutely. So they can definitely look me up and reach out to me.
Yes. And then the great thing is I got you right before you have a big day tomorrow. So please tell the audience what day tomorrow is for your mother.
So we're celebrating my mom's 80th birthday this weekend, which is really exciting. And actually now if she sees this, she's going to kill me for divulging that information. So it just got me in a lot of trouble, Alan. Thanks.
I'm sorry about that.
But yeah, it's like a lot of families, it's been a tough 2 years being locked down. So we're very excited to celebrate my mom's birthday and with a lot of family and friends tomorrow.
Well, hopefully she's not too mad, but happy birthday to your mom tomorrow.
Thank you.
And for those who don't know, it's Marc Lichtenfeld. Definitely look out for him. And we wish you a lot of success in your ring announcing and also stocks, and hope that we can help you with getting boxers to invest in you too.
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you ringside real soon.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to see me real soon. I'm looking forward to seeing you too, Marc.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye now.